Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 9:52 a.m. and it is Women's Month. We have an absolutely dynamic woman, our first woman in media that we're interviewing for the month of August. It is Women's Month. Let's celebrate these amazing women. And the first such woman is Zulpha Khan. She's based in the Western Cape. She's an experienced media manager with 20 years exposure in radio, news, television, print, marketing, photography, communications, and the list just goes on and on. Let's welcome her to the studio and let's get her to unpack all of her achievements. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam, Julie, and shukran for having me on your show. I feel quite honored.
We honored to have you on our show, Alhamdulillah. I think you've made great strides in the field of media. When I cast my mind back to perhaps 20 years ago, the industry was just about opening up and embracing women, and very especially Muslim women. How did you find yourself in this space? How is it that you've made such great strides in the industry?
You're absolutely correct when you say that about 20 years ago it was quite a very male-dominated space, and women were just starting to enter the sector. As a young student, it was quite daunting, not only as a student, like I said, because you start off doing internships and you start off doing learnerships. But a Muslim woman, definitely, because we come from backgrounds, where we are taught to be a certain way and to behave in a certain way, and there's certain decorums. But when you are into a certain space, like for instance, media, you really need to be in a way assertive, and you need to learn, sort of unlearn some of the things that you kind of culturally or that we kind of require to in our community. So it was a quite a massive learning curve. And I must say I adapted quite easily, because the space that I started in, besides where I studied, which was at the time it was called Pentec, Peninsula Technikon. It's now Cape Peninsula University of Technology. I started my career off at Bush Radio, so it's a very old community radio station with very very big background, not only in community radio in South Africa, but on the African continent. So they were very, very open to everybody, diverse groups, and especially women. So my entry on the onset was in an organization, which is Bush Radio, like I said, which basically was gave me the platform to just explore what it is that I wanted to do as a journalist and as a Muslim journalist.
Did you, as you were growing up, did you kind of tell yourself that some people from a very early age tell themselves, "I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot, etc., etc." Did you tell yourself that this is a space you want to be in? And what was it that inspired you to be in this space, the media space, obviously?
Well, I wasn't sure after leaving school, and I wasn't one of those people that had a clear idea of what I wanted to do. So I sort of took a year off from school where I went to do some work. And in that period, I did a short course in different things, including photography. So as part of the program, I excelled very well at the course. I was allowed to do an internship at any institution or organization of my choice, and I chose one of the commercial radio stations in Cape Town. And so that's where the radio and radio news bug kind of bit me. And then basically that's how it started. And I then realized, well, I've taken a year off to decide what I want to do. And having spent a couple of months at this radio station, and partly in the newsroom and production rooms and every other aspect of the business, that was the deciding factor for me. I spent the time there and I realized, well, this is actually what I want to do. And 20 years later, 20 years later, I've experienced many other forms of media, but I now find myself back in the radio space.
It doesn't matter which field of media you find yourself in. People from the outside looking in perceive this to be very glamorous because you're being heard on air, you're being seen on screen, etc. And they get this perspective of it being a very, very glamorous industry. But it's very, very hard work. You really have to be on your toes. You have to, you've got to be very alert. Your mind has to be sharp. You've got to have this probing nature to get to the core of the story. And you must also understand there's a backstory as well to the story you're telling here. So you've really got to be very, very sharp. What is the advice you'd give to young people who are wanting to come into the space regarding the sharpness of mind and the hard work that's involved in the media field?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Julie. The industry certainly is not very glamorous. What you see, or you see on the screens, or what you hear when you are listening to the radio, is the last step in a whole long process of getting,
The final product, the ribbon and the
yes,
bows.
yes, of delivering a product. And there are many people sometimes involved from the onset to that end point or the last step in what we do as journalists. So I would say to young people that do your research first to find out if this is what you want to do. Because if you're thinking that it's glamorous and there's not a lot of hard work involved, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to read a lot. I find that our young people aren't reading as much, and it's just it's because everyone's in the cell phone and fast media that there's not a lot of in-depth reading, whether it's newspapers, which we know that newspapers are fast becoming sort of a thing of the past, but we have those around. We have them online. Read books, and certainly don't be fooled that, like you said, that it's a glamorous industry to be in, because it's not. There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. You've got to graft. You've got to do the hard work behind the scenes before you can actually be at the forefront. It's not always that you're going to start off and be in front of the camera. So yeah, my advice would be is really do your research to find out if this is what you want to do, because really it's a vocation. You need to have a passion. To get into the industry is easy, but to stay in the industry is not very easy, because it involves a lot of hard work, and it involves you opening yourself up to do things that maybe is not even in your line of reporting, or going the extra mile. You're going to need to open yourself up to, do more than is required sometimes. And that only comes with having a passion for what you're doing and want to see your story succeed or your project succeed. There is sometimes, and a lot of the time, yes, you need to put in a lot more legwork. So it's not an
Okay.
easy job.
Zulfa, I'm going to have to wrap up because I'm running out of time, but very, very quickly, what are the highlights of the past 20 years of your career?
Well, for me, the highlights have been I've had the privilege, after lots of hard work, to work in work for one of our national television news stations for a period of 13 years. That for me was really an accolade, and I achieved or led really successful teams there. And right now, I feel like a highlight for me is that I'm in a senior leadership position at a radio company. We provide news nationally, Cape Town and Johannesburg, and yeah, so I've reached quite a pinnacle for at the moment, and I can just only look forward to what lies ahead, and yeah.
So, what next for you, very quickly?
I have no idea. For me, I feel like I said, I've reached quite a really good peak. And also quite noticeable, Julie, is that our management team at Eyewitness News is made up of mostly like women, like more than 90% our management team is
Wow.
women, which is really amazing
Wow.
and very representative. So we have quite robust meetings, and also everyone's voices are heard. So you can imagine how those meetings are. But, we work together, we pull together, and I think that we've come a long way as women in media, but also South African women in media. And like I said, we're fully represented with Muslim women, Indian women, African women, everyone is there at the table, has a seat at the table, and I think that that's really amazing to see. And having being in the industry over such a long period of time and seeing the evolve, how newsrooms have evolved, that's really been refreshing. So for now, I'm very happy where I am, and we'll see, inshallah, what awaits, what opportunities come
I
in the
mean,
future.
I hope it will be as good as the past 20 years. Wish I had more time to talk with you, but you go well. Thank you indeed for sharing with us this morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Shukran for having me.
It is exactly 2 after 10, time for me to wrap up, but not before I share some amazing news with you. And that is, of course, this August, Salam Media presents Empower Her, a show focusing all about women. 5 weeks, which comprises 10 shows, surprise guest presenters, dynamic topics, and much, much more. This will happen every Tuesday and Thursdays, only at 10 o'clock, pardon, 11 o'clock South African time, and it will be live streamed at Salam Media. Our first guest for today is Farhana Haturani, and she'll be with you at exactly 11 o'clock. So do look forward to that. I had a brief chat with her yesterday. She's standing by to chat with you today. She's not a guest, she's actually the presenter of this show. Farhana Haturani, and she goes by the handle Hannah Hats. Do enjoy. Time for me to wrap up. Hope you've enjoyed the show with me this morning. A shout out to you, Nasri Naidu, our producer, and of course the guy behind the controls, and that of course is Abdus Salam. Keep warm, take care on the roads. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.